Welcome to another segment of Behind the Scenes of The Waltons. Today I'm going to be talking about the episode from Season 7, The Obsession, when Mary Ellen gets hooked on medication. If you're enjoying these videos, please do like and subscribe and hit that notification bell if you would like to know when I post a new video. The episode, The Obsession, was directed by Gwen Arner. She was one of only a couple of female directors that we had during the course of The Waltons. Gwen did a number of other episodes for Lorimar, who produced The Waltons. So she also directed episodes of Dallas and Falcon Crest. She directed episodes of other series like Dr. Quinn and Family. For The Waltons, she directed 13 episodes. I always enjoyed working with Gwen. Getting a woman's perspective on some of these episodes was very helpful, and we could speak on a different level about just some of the things that women might go through relative to certain issues. And in this case, Mary Ellen's whole situation with getting hooked on pills and stuff like that. I enjoyed being able to craft this performance with the help of Gwen. Gwen was also married to actor Donald Moffat, who did an episode of The Waltons, John's Crossroads. So very typical of The Waltons, where we did kind of keep it in the family at times. So it was always wonderful to have people that were related or had worked on other shows for the same company. And there was a comfort in working with the same directors multiple times, and obviously the same crew over the years and things like that. So it made for a very pleasant and happy set to work on, which was great. Dealing with how to prepare for an episode like this as an actor was challenging because I had never dealt with any kind of addiction like that. I'm happy to say that I've never taken any kind of drugs, had taken medications when necessary, but have never had any sort of dealings with that sense of addiction and what that might be like and the withdrawals that Mary Ellen went through. So I did do research, and then it's going on instincts. It's finding ways that you might relate to that sense of anxiety from the withdrawals, the tension in the body, the not being able to sleep. And a lot of that deals with energy. As for an actor, that's what I find, is that some things are more passive in energy. If you're bored, if you're tired, that's all sort of low energy, whereas something like this is very high energy. Things like anger and fear, those are emotions that are very high energy. So tapping into finding that energy, for me, made it much easier to play those scenes. And it was a lot of fun in a lot of ways to create that. And of course, there's an arc to what happened with my character in the episode, starting off feeling like she's completely under control when she talks, her former fiance, David Spencer, into prescribing her or giving her medication. I don't know the prescriptions were particularly what was going on there. He just kind of handed me those pills. And then going back and asking for more, and then finding that combo of needing the stimulants to stay awake for all the studying and then the sedatives to go to sleep at night. And sounds like a really vicious cycle. And it happened over a relatively quick period of time in this episode because it was just a 2-3 week period, and it was enough of an impact with the amount of pills I was taking that we were saying that Mary Ellen was having this reaction to it that then escalated until she breaks into Kurt's medicine cabinet and just kind of has a meltdown and is attacking other members of the family because they're missing this dark secret that she's carrying at the time. And of course, Jason confronts her, and she doesn't lie to Jason, which I liked, that she just kind of said, yeah, well, so what? And then Daisy, of course, says that she has experienced this with fellow dancers. I love the whole way the family pulled together in the end, with me calling and Jason coming and getting me, and then Jason and Mama sitting up with me all night to get me through that whole withdrawal thing. And that was so typical of the Waltons, to be there for each other. And I know that's an aspect of the show that I always loved and always appreciated when I had family situations like that, and wanted to have that sort of closeness with members of my family, or even close friends, those people you can count on that'll be there for you when you are going through something tough like this. So it was all very much family pulling together. Some other aspects in this episode, the subplot with Yancey and Sissy. Many of you may know, but for those of you who don't, Robert Donner, who played Yancey Tucker for the various different episodes of The Waltons, and then Sissy Wellman, who came in and played Sissy, who marries Yancey, were actually married in real life. Once again, a case of keeping it in the family. Sissy came from a real Hollywood family. Her father was director William Wellman, who worked with, Sissy has pictures of her sitting on Clark Gable's lap when she was a child because her father was directing Clark Gable in a film. Talk about Hollywood royalty. So we were grateful to have Sissy and Bob Donner, who was always a lot of fun. Not really like Yancey Tucker, but just brilliant at all that kind of comedy stuff. When Yancey goes to the Dewdrop Inn to commiserate over him and Sissy having separated, and Ben and Jason are there to try and be there to support him. And in this case where Jon is playing piano, because it goes throughout the scene, he would have been faking playing piano, and they would have laid in that actual music later. You always want all of the audio pieces to be separate and clean so that sound can be layered as opposed to just a jumble of sound when you're on and off camera. So each thing you want what's on camera, but not what isn't specifically on camera. It didn't happen very often, but every once in a while, this sink in the kitchen needed to be what we called practical, meaning you actually could get water out of it. So in this case, they would have done some sort of rigging to enable water to be pulled up and come out when I pour this glass of water. A little later in the episode, you see the back of the kitchen counter. So that tells me that wall had been pulled out, because normally there would not have been necessarily that much of a counter that would have been there. So it would have just been shoved up against, pushed in, it would have been installed up against the wall, and you wouldn't have been able to see the back side of the counter. But here you do, because the wall has been taken out so that the camera can be behind the sink like that to get this shot. I can guarantee that they did not let me drive this van into that tree. So this would have been editing and some sort of stunt double who actually drove the van into hitting that tree, and then they would have cut into me when everyone runs to see if I'm all right in there. So no damage was done to actors in the filming of this scene. I have been asked about how they were able to get John Curtis to cry on cue. I don't fully remember how we did some of these, but in this scene where Mary Ellen is asleep and sleeping through John Curtis crying, you can clearly see that he is distressed and is crying. I don't know that they would have made him cry, but what may have happened there, because I know there were certain things he liked. So it's possible that they gave him something that he liked, that he was playing with, and then they took it away right before the camera rolled. So he was upset. Sounds terrible, doesn't it? It's tough. That's why when parents are interested in their young children being in the entertainment industry, I often try to let them know that not everything, they try to be as good and as careful with children as possible, but something like this, if they really want them crying, they're going to figure out some way for that to happen. So is that the best thing for the child? Is it going to hurt them in the long run? I don't know. You'd have to, as a parent, be the judge of that. I do know that the twins who played John Curtis, Michael and Marshall Reed, were really very sweet children, very laid back, and And they did great with the filming. So, and fortunately, very rarely did it require that they caught them crying. And it may have been that they just, kept them there and then waited until something was going on and one of them did start crying and then said, let's shoot really fast. Any number of things sometimes will happen in order to get what you need. And sometimes if you can't actually see them crying, that would have just been edited, the sound of them crying. So there you go. That's what I have for you on this episode of Behind the Scenes of The Waltons, the episode, The Obsession. I will see you for more behind the scenes and more Ask Judy. Until then, thanks for watching.